One, welcome into the MMA Hangout. That right there is a legend in our midst. DJ Mighty Mouse, Demetrious Johnson. DJ, first off, a pleasure to have you on, bro. You are an absolute legend, one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. You told me you're cleaning the house right now. You're being a great dad. You're watching the stock results for NVIDIA, just trying to figure out where we're at right now. You gave me some life advice. You got to invest your money wisely. You know, you're taking care of everything. How do you have time to do everything in your life?
Well, I have a great support team behind me. Without my wife, I wouldn't be where I'm at. Then I have 3 children. Obviously, schools take care of them right now. And for me, I try to, time is valuable. So I try to make sure I space out my day accordingly based on the day. So woke up, had breakfast, cooked breakfast for my dad. He just took off to Vegas, took the kids to school, went to the gym, worked out for 2 hours. Now I'm home cleaning the house for the wife. And we're watching the stock market to see what NVIDIA is going to do. Then we got this and another interview after this. And we'll get down to the office, start creating more content. Then go pick the kids up. So you just got to manage your day. I try to fill my day to be very, very busy. And I've been doing it for a while now.
What's the most difficult part of your career? Was it getting into the UFC? Was it leaving the UFC now into one? Obviously, you're the flyweight champion for one championship right now. Legend in the UFC. Obviously, 11 title defenses. You and John Jones, I think, are the only ones that have that number. So you've had so many transitions in your life, now transitioning to, the back end of your career with one, and kind of what's looking at in the future. Like, what's been the toughest part for you?
I would say, honestly, just being busy and staying consistent. I've always worked my whole entire life. Ever since I was 15 and a half, working at, Park McPetter sweeping the golf course. And even up to when I fought for my first world title fight in the UFC, I was working full time. So for me, always staying busy is kind of built into my nature. And now, like you said, I'm on the back end of my career where I'm not competing as often as I was when I was in the prime of my career, like 3 to 2 times a year. And now I'm focused on just building content, building my brand as big as I can, and trying to be present with my kids, my wife, and present in building the content as well. And that's probably the hardest thing, is always trying to evolve as not just an athlete or businessman, but as a person.
What's been the funnest part of your career when you look back and be like, damn, that was it?
Yeah, I'll play, honestly, probably creating content, hanging out with other athletes, and just traveling with my wife. That was probably the best part. And travel with my teammates and the coaches. That was probably my favorite part of the career. I mean, I loved every bit of it. And, I'm still, active, I would say that was probably it right there. Just the traveling, hanging out with other fighters. I mean, I never forget me, Cody, No Love, a couple of people from MMA Junkie and the UFC brass, as you can call them. Mm-hmm. We were out in Japan getting drunk, and it was pretty cool, man. Like, that stuff would never happen if I never were competing in the sport.
Who's the member of the UFC brass that you can talk about that was drinking everybody under the table?
Oh, he was drinking anybody on the table. It was Sean Shelby, though. He was out there with us, hanging out, getting lit.
There must be so many great stories of, obviously, that time in the UFC that it was kind of totally different than what it is now, right? Like, you've seen mixed martial arts grow into such a almost mainstay, like, worldwide sport. Now, obviously, Ilia Topuria just won the featherweight championship, like, opening up an entire new demographic of fans in the European market, in the Spanish market, with Spain, obviously being on top with him. Like, and I want to get to that fight in a second because I want to get your expertise on that. But isn't it crazy how when you got into the game, it was completely different than what it is now?
1,000%. I mean, you just look at everything. Technology evolves over time. And what I mean by technology, like the technology to be able to stream the fights and have, high quality footage of live fights going on. And I think, with Ilia Topuria coming into, not just him, but just anybody in mixed martial arts, depending on what organization you're in, you're going to get the best streaming service, like you can say, right? I mean, UFC is on ESPN. You have More Championship that's on Amazon Prime. Mm-hmm. And these broadcasters do an amazing job to broadcast all the fights when they're going on live. So I think when Ilia Topuria did what he did against Alex Volkanovski and have all of Europe and Spain behind him watching, I mean, I saw one video. It was on like a screen of a huge coliseum. So mm-hmm. The technology has come so far where if this was back in the early 1993 when mixed martial arts was starting to its infancy stage, it wouldn't be the same.
Looking at that fight, obviously it was a masterclass between Volk and between Ilya. What I was looking at, and the people that I've been watching that know their shit, and obviously I'm very interested to see what you have to say, knowing the most shit out of everybody that I would listen to, is like, what they told me is watch their footwork. It was an elite footwork game, a game of chess between Ilya and Volk. Can you speak on like some of the things when you watch fights, how you watch them differently being a fighter yourself? I know you have a ton of breakdowns on either your TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, on all of those different things that you kind of break down your own fights. But when you look at elite level guys like that, how is it that you watch it?
First off, I watch it by the footwork and how they're going to cross the void, aka the distance, and how do they approach the fight. Obviously, with Alex Volkanovski taking on Ilya Topuria, it was going to be a battle of, Ilya Topuria, once he touches you, you typically go to sleep. And Alex Volkanovski has outstruck everybody. He's fought all the guys who are taller than him: Max Holloway, Yair Rodriguez, Brian Ortega. The list just goes on. So you had a guy like Ilya Topuria who likes to weight himself across the void with a beautiful head movement. And when he gets to the right distance, he unloads a 3 to 4 punch combination, boxing style. And when he gets his opponent to the cage, that's when he's most successful. So when I sit back and I watch it, I'm looking at how is he going to cross the void? How is Alex Volkanovski going to keep him away from it? And he likes to use the moon-shaped arc. And that's how I look at it. And that's the stuff I try to bring to my YouTube channel for people who are out there who aren't keen on what they're looking at. Instead of like a lot of people watch, I was like, I just want to see who's going to get knocked out. Right. So I try to break it down to, my mindset when I'm watching the fights. And a lot of the fans love to see it.
Who is the person right now across any promotion, right? Whether it be one, whether it be obviously PFL and Bellator together, UFC, who you watch and you go, that guy right there or that girl right there is kind of leagues above everybody else?
Ooh, leagues above everybody else? That's a hard one to say. I mean, I haven't thought about that by anybody yet. I think everybody has deficiencies, including myself, that we all can get better at doing. So, like I said, I think the last person that I thought where I was like, ooh, this person is good was Ilya Topuria when he fought Josh Emmett. He did a lot of things good, correct. And now that he just beat Alex Volkanovski, I would say he's on one. But even he has deficiencies. We just haven't seen it yet.
When you look at the spectrum of fighters, right, and you kind of look at your own career, and you're like, "Ooh, I see myself in that person." Right, like looking at that younger generation and seeing kind of who's next. Who's the next Mighty Mouse? Who's the next DJ who you're like, oh, that guy reminds me of me?
Ooh, that's hard because I felt like at the beginning of my career, I think there's snippets of me in a lot of people because I felt like I had snippets of a lot of people when I was upcoming in my career, right? And I think, Sean O'Malley, the way he's able to feint, the way he moves, forces people across the distance. Ilya Topuria, how he stops his opponents. Izzy Adesanya, how he's so dynamic and athletic. There's so many people out there. So for me, I'm just trying to take snippets of people where I wish I had earlier in my career, because we're not all people are going to be better than me. I was able to put stuff together because of my structure, my size, my mentality. And I think a lot of these guys have snippets of me, which I had snippets of earlier fighters like Rampage Jackson. I love how he moved, my pressure style, kind of like Randy Couture. I mean, the list just goes on. Mirko Cro Cop, how he would throw high kicks.
Wow, yeah.
So for me, it's like when I look at the younger generation, I always tell people, be better than me. Don't be like me. And I don't see anybody who's like me, which is not a bad thing. Everybody's their own personality and their own style of fighting.
You're close to Sean. I've seen you do a lot of stuff with Sean on your YouTube channel. This fight with him and Cheeto, his only loss, avenging that, got the title, beat Aljo when Aljo was kind of on a tear, obviously. Yep. How do you see Sean kind of his trajectory into superstardom in the sport?
Well, I already think he's a superstar. I don't think, regardless of how this fight plays out, I mean, he already lost to Cheeto once, and his star kept on growing, even though Cheeto beat him and finished him. So I think the biggest thing that Sean O'Malley has been able to do is create a brand outside of mixed martial arts with, his sugar line, his gaming, his YouTube, his podcast. So I think for him going out there, if he beats Chito Rivera, which is very possible, I think, his start's going to keep on rising because he's going to continue to do the other things that got his start even higher, which is building his brand.
What do you talk to me about what you're doing with OnlyFans? I know that obviously you're doing content everywhere. I feel like YouTube, Twitter, like across the board, you're doing content everywhere. What makes the stuff that you're doing with OnlyFans different than what people see on your regular channels that obviously you pump out a ton of content already?
Yeah, it's the content I put on OnlyFans is exclusive. So if you go through all of my Instagram, YouTube, and all that stuff, the one thing I do not post about is my diet, my recovery, and like behind the scenes of my competition and training and archives. And when I got approached by OnlyFans, when me and my producer were searching for a platform to be able to host our library of rich content, OnlyFans was the perfect place because it's for the true fans who want to see that side of things, right? You have YouTube, where YouTube is specific for certain niche, where it's like, breakdowns, the Mighty Cast, the podcast, and all the other stuff. And then you have your Instagram, which is more family-like, and your lifestyle a little bit. Then you have the OnlyFans, where it's truly for the super fans, where it's like, hey, I'm posting my diet.
Right.
If I was to post the same content on YouTube, it wouldn't do it as good because people don't really care about my diet, but the super fans do. And so we have, a lot of content that, we could post on there that is going to be good for the fans who truly want to see behind the scenes of stuff. And that's a thing too, where OnlyFans, you can do both. You can do long form content and you also do short form content, where a lot of these places you can't really do it. And if you do short form content, you kind of, ruin the algorithm on, YouTube essentially. So we felt that OnlyFans was the best place to be able to house this type of exclusive content.
And we're going to put all the links in the bios below on our YouTube channel, on the podcast and all that stuff. So we'll direct everybody. Go check out DJ Mighty Mouse's OnlyFans account. He's going to have a bunch of cool stuff on there. I might be out there too, seeing what you're eating, dude, so I can replicate the same thing.
Well, it's funny because, I was literally just down in California at the Jackson podcast at the Jackson studio. You had Rampage Jackson, Luke Rockhold, you had Bear, you had a lot of the guys. And I took my shirt off. I was like, dude, why do you still have abs right now? You're not in fight camp. I was like, well, I live my lifestyle is a clean, healthy lifestyle. And what I eat is very bland. It's straightforward. But for the super fan who cares about, hey, what does Demetrious Johnson eat? That's where I'm going to show it. But if you post a video on YouTube, it's like, hey guys, this is what I eat. As you know how YouTube works, it's all about the algorithm. It's a niche platform, right? If I would do that, nobody. We posted some amazing things on YouTube, just doesn't do very well. And so that's when we're like, okay, let's find a platform where our fans, my fans, who are a fan of the brand of the Mighty Gaming, Mighty Mouse, Demetrious Johnson, where the content can live and breathe, and that's where OnlyFans came to mind, and that's where we made that merge of bringing the content there, the exclusive content.
I love it, man. If you're a Mighty Mouse fan, go check out his OnlyFans. Dude, thank you so much. You are an absolute legend of the game, and it's such a pleasure and an honor to talk to somebody who has done all the things that you've done and in the content game just like me and understanding how these things work. So thank you so much for hanging out, dude. Really appreciate it.
Hey, man, appreciate you. God bless.
Later, man.